Today,
I urge everyone
to come together and fight.
to come together and fight.
Fight for every right
Fight for every right
that is threatened
by Trump
and his elected officials.
and his elected officials.
That is downtown Manhattan, that famous arch in Washington Square Park. This is New York University students here. This is emblematic of what's happening across the country. Students staging walkouts to protest President-elect Trump and his stance on immigration. Demonstrations in East Los Angeles have now entered day number 3. Students say they want to pressure school administrators to turn their schools and universities into so-called sanctuary campuses. Many say they're being targeted by anti-immigration advocates who voted for Donald Trump.
You're watching King 5 News.
The people united will never be divided.
There they go. Now at 10 o'clock, it is a 6th straight day of protests right here in Seattle and in cities across our nation. It's all against Donald Trump's election as president of the United States. 5,000 students walked out of class in Seattle to show their frustration with the president-elect.
But not everybody in this blue city backs the movement.
I don't see myself doing this. I don't see that this does anything. I don't want to just stand on the street and shake a sign and shout. I don't know what they're doing.
Good evening. Welcome to King 5 News at 10. I'm Amanda Grace.
And I'm David Espinosa Hall. Now, Sky King showed all of those students gathered at Westlake Park this evening. What do you think of these protests, rather? Are they positive or pointless?
Head to king5.com/vote now. You can weigh in. King 5's Heather Graff begins our coverage at 10 with the students' point of view.
Regrets and plenty of enthusiasm as this group of students walked out of class at Garfield High School.
This is something that we want to do, and I feel like parents should be proud that their kids are so passionate about politics like this.
Making their voices heard on this, the Monday after the presidential election.
The people united will never be divided.
Because most in this crowd say they didn't have a voice last week.
Were you old enough to vote in this presidential election?
No, it was my birthday on election day, 16th birthday.
Under 18 means no right to vote, but these students feel very strongly they do have the right to an opinion about President-elect Donald Trump.
When I first heard the news about when he was elected, I was terrified, I was scared, I was so angry, I didn't know how to feel.
So the student walkouts were about expressing those feelings.
Some of us are heartbroken. I know I'm heartbroken.
And as they marched through Seattle,
Keep going.
I think it's great.
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
every step of the way, it seemed
What school do you go to?
We go to Franklin High School.
more schools and more students joined in.
Oh, I go to Northwest.
We want justice. When do we want it? Now.
Speaking their minds, defending the Constitution. I'm very proud to see kids doing this.
We reject the president-elect.
And though not everyone agreed with this underage protest, students told us that's okay.
Our voice needs to be heard because we are the future.
Because in 4 years, they vow to make just as much noise.
We reject the president-elect.
At the polls.
Reject the president-elect.
So certainly a lot of passion we saw from those students today. Their protest stretched several hours and several miles, but when it was all said and done, it was relatively peaceful from start to finish. We're live tonight in Seattle. Heather Graff, King 5 News.
Heather, thank you for that coverage. Now, folks, it was a peaceful protest with the exception of about 3 arrests. Check out the highlighted area of your screen as a man walks in front of the line of bike officers, stopping him and the line behind him. Are you seeing that? So that started an immediate scuffle between protesters and police. Look at that. 2 people were arrested in that specific incident. Now let's move to about an hour later. A man in the protest was arrested for assaulting another man who was not even participating at the time.
So there is another side of the coin here. Trump supporters are celebrating. They're looking forward to watching him take the oath of office and become our next president.
And you know what? Some of those supporters are critical of what's happening on our streets and streets of cities across America. John Langler brings us their perspective in a story that is new tonight.
Not far from where Monday's anti-Trump protest concluded, one of his biggest supporters called it beautiful.
Part of me wants to go troll them, you know.
What would you want to say?
Well, first of all, I mean, like we were talking on the phone, I think that actually Bernie has more in common with Trump than he does with Hillary.
Andrew Maxwell started a group called Seattle Patriots for Trump.
Does that upset you, though, seeing this or
No,
what happened in
I
New
think
York or
this is democracy. This is great. What upsets me is when they start destroying things.
Politically, Maxwell is ambiguous. He hated former President George W. Bush and strongly supported President Obama. He backed Donald Trump because he was tired of being let down, tired of wars, and tired of the system.
He's going to make fantastic decisions. And he's going to piss a lot of people off along the way, like he already has. And it's fine.
But for thousands of people in Seattle, it's not. Maxwell thinks if the situation was reversed, though, Trump supporters would not be in the streets.
I don't see myself doing this. I don't see that this does anything.
They're saying the man you supported to be president is not their president.
Oh, well, yes, he is. I mean, sorry, but he is. And these are little kids who are just running rampant without any adult supervision. And I'm sure there's some of those there too. They're probably just some hysterical little snowflakes, we call them, that just are looking for something to beat their drum about. You know, you show me the picture of all the protests, and I think it's unfortunate, and I think a lot of these people are going to flip around.
Until then, he'll watch this beautiful democracy take place from afar. In Seattle, John Langler, King 5 News.
So we've been asking you to weigh in. Do you think that these protests are positive or pointless? Here's what you had to say. 35% say positive, but the majority, 65%, calling these anti-Trump protests pointless. Thanks for voting.
Hi everybody, my name's Mike. This is my YouTube page, Mox News. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so I have a question for the Not My President protesters. But first, what I'd like to say is that I am extremely proud of the protesters. You are following in the great American tradition of taking to the streets and demanding change, demanding equality, demanding fairness for the people, demanding freedom for the people. It's a beautiful thing. I've been meaning to say this to the Black Lives Matter protesters. It's so important. I think the most American thing you can do is dissent, is to stand up and say, no, it stops here. To draw a line in the sand with your actual bodies. Say no. When the Occupy protesters took to the streets for months on end, camping out on cold sidewalks in the middle of winter for months on end, it was probably one of the most proudest moments of my life. And the thing about the Occupy protesters, and one of the reasons that I'm so proud of the Black Lives Matter and so proud of, you know, the protesters that are on the streets now saying not my president, is because Scott Olson and the Black Lives Matter protesters showed that the people they're standing up against, the police state, is who they're standing up against, and that the police state will murder you. They will kill you. Scott Olson stood with two tours of service in Iraq as a Marine. Scott Olson stood on the street holding an American flag and a peace sign. And the fucking piece of shit cops in Oakland shot a tear gas canister right into his forehead, fracturing his skull. The piece of shit police in America will kill you. Two tours of duty in Iraq as a Marine, and the piece of shit cops in America tried to murder him as he stood there with an American flag and a peace sign. And that's why I'm so proud of the Black Lives Matter and the protesters in the streets now. because they're standing up against people that they know will murder them without hesitation, will take their lives, will destroy their lives, will take them and accuse them of assaulting police officers for walking by. The second you can just walk by talking on your cell phone, and they'll shoot you in the face with fucking pepper spray, with chemical weapons, and say, that person threatened me. Walking by talking on your cell phone, you got a camera and you're videoing, you're documenting the police state in the land of the free, in the home of the brave. You people on the streets are the brave. You're standing up against murderers, a murderous police state, and demanding your rights, demanding your freedom in a proud American tradition. And I hope that you all feel that this is one of the proudest moments of your life, to stand up for what's right. Okay, now that being said, I just like to ask, if Donald Trump is not your president, which, I can understand he didn't get the popular vote, right? Hillary Clinton seems to overwhelmingly have won the popular vote. That's not the way the system works. It's an archaic system. It should be changed. It should be one vote, one count. That's all there is to it. I understand that. The question is, if Donald Trump's not your president, then who is? Barack Obama? Barack Obama, who labeled the Occupy protesters potential terrorists. He labeled them, him and his Department of Homeland Security labeled them in documents potential terrorists. And then they went and beat the shit out of them. That's your president? The guy who says that he needs to spy on every single person's cell phone in the United States, on your 14-year-old daughter's cell phone, Barack Obama? He needs to take every picture your 14-year-old daughter's ever taken with her cell phone and stash it on a hard drive somewhere. That guy's your president? Barack Obama, who drone strikes wedding parties in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, in Yemen. Wedding parties. And then when the ambulances go in to get the survivors, they drone strike them again. War crime. And then when they go to the funerals of these people, they drone strike the funeral. War crime. That's your president? The guy who, in the middle of Israel bombing apartment buildings and hospitals and UN shelters for women and children in Gaza, in the middle of Israel bombing UN shelters in Gaza. Barack Obama shipped them more bombs. More bunker buster bombs. Oh, here, you guys probably need to reload, so here's a bunch more bombs. In the middle of them bombing Gaza, shipped them to piece of shit Israel. That's your president? Hillary Clinton, who pushed for war in Libya. They said women and children will be devastated, will be killed in the most heinous ways if we oust Gaddafi. Hillary Clinton said, as long as it's good for Israel, I don't give a shit. Hillary Clinton, who the WikiLeaks emails show knew Saudi Arabia is funneling weapons to ISIS in Syria and Libya. Saudi Arabia is funneling weapons to ISIS. Hillary Clinton pushes, with Barack Obama, pushed through the biggest weapons sale in U.S. history to Saudi Arabia. Don't tell me Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton didn't work to arm ISIS. Don't tell me Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton haven't funded ISIS with millions, if not billions of dollars. Don't tell me Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton didn't train ISIS militaries. They say, oh, well, how many of pro, Western rebels are there on the ground in Syria? And the general says 4, I don't know, 3 or 4 out of hundreds and hundreds trained. Do you know where those hundreds trained? They went straight to ISIS and they spread what they learned to ISIS. Okay? Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are the founders of ISIS. George Bush helped. Those people are your president? If Obama labeled Occupy protesters potential terrorists, what do you think they're labeling Black Lives Matter protesters? Barack Obama came into office saying, I'm not like those other presidents. Do I look like the presidents on the $100 bills, on the dollar bills? Do I look like those guys? I'm not like them. Meaning, I understand your pain. I understand your suffering. I understand the police state has you under their jackbooted thugs' feet, under the heels of their jackbooted thugs. I understand that. And you know what the first thing that happened when Barack Obama came into office? Raids on medical marijuana facilities. Medical marijuana facilities. Raids tripled. DEA raids tripled under Barack Obama. The number one thing on the change.org website, they had this thing, give us your questions, and whatever's voted the highest, the number one question on Barack Obama, change.org website, will you legalize marijuana? Legalize marijuana. It wasn't will you, is a statement. Legalize marijuana. He wouldn't talk about it for the first year and a half of his candidacy. He wouldn't even address it. He promised to address all the top issues on this website and wouldn't even address it. And then when he finally did, some mother asked him about legalization to stop ruining children's lives. And he laughed at her. He said, I don't think legalization's the answer to our problems. If Barack Obama had legalized marijuana on day one of his presidency, how many black lives would have been saved? How many children's lives would not have been ruined by the police state? How many new jobs would it... Over 8-year period, legal marijuana in the United States will create 20 million new jobs. Easily. Barack Obama didn't want you to have those jobs, didn't want you to have that booming economy. Barack Obama doesn't care about black people. And Hillary Clinton doesn't care about women and children. And if she did, if I believed for 1 second that Hillary Clinton was going to make women and children the priority in her presidency, for 1 second, if I could believe that, if it was top 5 of her priorities, for 1 second, if I could believe that, I would have supported Hillary Clinton. And those of you who do believe it don't know at all who she is and don't care. So who is your president? I mean, I get it. When George Bush was put into the White House, George Bush didn't win either election that he ran in for the White House. He was installed by the Supreme Court. And then John Kerry conceded while they were still counting votes in Ohio. And then they did their little secret skull and bones handshake. And George got another 4 years. I mean, W. Shrub got another 4 years. And I clearly made it clear. George Shrub was not my president, but he wasn't elected. Okay? When Barack Obama was elected, the whole world, it's like, yes, maybe, just maybe, America can be great again. And Obama militarized the police beyond. Hillary Clinton helped her husband triple the number of black people in prison. Hillary Clinton labeled young people of color super predators. That's your president? You homos. Barack Obama said marriage is between a man and a woman. He ran on that in 2008. Hillary Clinton, marriage is between a man and a woman. Same fucking thing. Instead of moving into the 21st century and saying, no, freedom is for everyone. If everyone is not free, we don't have freedom in this country. They were gatekeepers that said, no, homos don't deserve freedom. Okay? Ron Paul stood up there and said, yeah, let them get married. Who gives a fuck? Okay? It's not like there's like, oh no, the whole world was here. No. People who believe in freedom stood up to support freedom. People who believe in freedom don't have to be coaxed into supporting freedom. When they come into office, they say, no, like Bernie Sanders. Marijuana being illegal is institutionalized racism. Bernie Sanders said it 100 times at his rallies during 2016. Marijuana being illegal is institutionalized racism in our justice system. Okay? If you want to tell me Bernie's your president, I can get behind that. I get that. If the stinking Democrats, the superdelegates, Barack Obama, hadn't all gotten behind Hillary Clinton and rammed her down our throat, said, no, Bernie can't win. Bernie, every single fucking interview, Bernie can't win, Bernie can't win. Yes, he could have if you people had listened to the American public. But it's all your fault. Barack Obama. If Barack Obama had simply been the candidate that he promised us he would be, which he immediately shown he wasn't going to be, which is why the Occupy protesters took to the streets, and now why the Black Lives Matter people are in the streets, because Barack Obama has shown absolutely no care about the plight of the black people. Doesn't give a fuck. So who is your president if not Donald Trump? Because this is what I can tell you about Donald Trump. Number one, he doesn't have the blood of 1 million dead Iraqis on his hands like Hillary Clinton. I haven't seen him drone strike any wedding parties yet. Not that he won't, but I haven't seen it happen. He doesn't have a list of fucking war crimes the size of my fucking arm, as far as I can tell, yet. So who is your president? Just wondering. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Mike. This is my YouTube page. My YouTube page. I'll run it the way I want to run it. Use the words I want to use to try and help the world the only way I know how. The best way I know how. Again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your continued support. If you'd like to donate, it's easy to do. You can go to moxnews.com. There's links there. And there's also links below this video. It says, Mox News needs your help to survive. And the only reason Mox News is still here is because kind people like yourself have taken just a minute or two out of your busy day to make sure that to put a little something in my bowl, to give back a little something, to make sure that I can be here for tomorrow and on into 2017 to report on the presidency of Donald J. Trump. Okay? So stay cool. One of these days this war is going to end.